All right. Good morning, people. Oh, Zeus, hush. Zeus obviously wishes he could come in and join us. I'm going to the gym fairly soon, so I'll leave him outside. This webcam is all. There we go. Let's see. I'm trying to do this on YouTube and TikTok at the same time because, you know, I keep getting banned. Especially when I piss some chick off in the morning. And they go around and they report all like dozen of my videos or something, and then they get banned. What's going on? Aladdin. Glory is the holy God. Now I've got Robin Williams song stuck in my head. Nice bubbas. So, gonna do a movie tonight at 8:30 Pacific. Figured we watch Dark City. If anybody wants to join, should be fun. We had a lot of fun last time. Anybody wants to join? Sometimes I think of doing a. Will I ever think of doing getting one of those glue-on hair pieces? No. My hair jumped ship when I was 24. I kind of just got over it. I don't give a fuck. It's just nobody cares. I mean, dumbass trolls that don't have any intelligent response to some of the TikToks and shit that I make. Oh, you're bald! It's like, you're not relevant. I don't fucking care. So, no. When I was like first out of the Corps and my hair had started to go, and I was very self-conscious about it because I was in my early 20s. I actually went to San Francisco to one of those like specialty hair clinics and stuff where they put, you know, they take out your own hair and they put it in different places. And I was very self-conscious about it. It was thousands of dollars, whatever. Obviously, I didn't do it. And yeah, prankles. I think couples who pull pranks on each other are having a good time. But obviously, I didn't do it. You know, about 3 years later, I shaved my head and I just fucking got past it. It was just, you know, get over it. Who cares? There are very early 20-something girls who give a shit about a dude being bald, but they're actually kind of few and far between. Most women just don't fucking care. Guys don't fucking care. The only person that cares is the person that lost his hair. And it sucks for a few years, and then you're just, yeah, past it. I don't fucking care anymore. Get one of those things here. Hold on. If you do go the shave your hair route, get you one of these things because they really do make your life easier. When am I retiring? I haven't even really thought about it. I don't really want to retire at this point. I've got too much stuff that I'm working. I really enjoy like what I do. All the things that I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I retired. Like we shut down for a couple of weeks in early COVID, mostly for supply chain issues and whatnot. And, you know, sitting around the house, like, it was boring. I don't really, I'm sure at some point I will feel old and decrepit and want to retire. But I'm just, I'm not at a place where I give a shit about retiring at this point. I mean, see, just do this thing and it makes your life easier. You just go back and forth a couple of times and shit comes right off. I'm going to do right here on camera for all you guys losing your hair that are self-conscious about it. Don't be. Ain't nobody gives a shit but you. And I was there. I gave a shit when I was in my 20s and my stuff started to fall out. I was all nervous about it. I was like, because I had some hair up front, so I had a bald spot. But I get it. You get self-conscious. But one of these things, that's what I do every morning, You just run it over your head. Kind of get it right by the ears. It's a little hard. But, you kind of, while you're listening to it, you can hear it stop. It's not trimming anything at this point, and that's it. I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm scared of retiring. Are you scared that you won't have the resources when you retire? Is that what you're saying? Because that's a fear for everybody. Really irritating, the skin scratchy. No, it's totally comfortable. That's just it trimming the hair. I can't feel it. It's not doing. It just feels like someone's rubbing my head. It's not at all uncomfortable. Told myself if I ever started balding, I shave. Yeah, it's just, shit happens. My hair started jumping ship. I was really, and these, you can use them on the other your face too. Like this. I'll tell you what I'm self-conscious about now is because I have the round face from my father and my grandfather, and it kind of gets loose right here, So it makes me look fat. It's funny when I shot a few videos from the gym, and there was a whole bunch of people that were like, why did I think you were fat? And I got a little fluff, I'm not sporting a six-pack. But people were like, you're a lot bigger than I. It's like, yeah, it's just, this is the shape of my face. My father had, this kind of fluffy face. My grandfather had it. It does sometimes make me a little self-conscious, but it just, can get past it. It is a good heart when you mentioned going bald, and he whips out, That's a man issue too, right? We get nervous about how we look. What brand is this? I don't know. Oria? Something like that? I don't think anybody's on the YouTube right now. I just got it off Amazon. I think it was on sale. Was all it was. But yeah, we. Hi, Kevin. Going good. Yeah, guys get real anxious about going bald, and you can see in the comments, there's unpleasant people who, when they have nothing else to say, they'll be like, well, you're old and bald. It's funny. People think I'm actually much older than I am. Like a lot of the people that work for me assume that I'm much older than I am. I had a couple of times, especially at the old plant, where there's these, older, crusty union guys, and I'm walking around, and they'd be like, and at some point they'd find out how old I am. They'd be like, wait, what? And then, they're like 10 or 12 or 15 years older than I am, but I'm their boss. And yeah, see, people think, I guess 58, 45, yep. TikTok video you might find interesting. Okay, I'll check it, Kevin. So far, 2 of those guesses are several years off, I'll guess. But people think I'm much older than I am. And it's funny. I think, some of this is because this shit is gray. When I trim it, when I shave it down, people start to back my age up some, because you can't see the gray is when it starts growing out a lot. We're getting closer. So far, yeah, a lot of people much older. A couple of people coming in younger. This is kind of funny. 70. I get this like upper 60s. I'm like, I don't look like I'm in my upper 60s. Come on, guys. Late 40s, early 50s, 56. You guys. See, people think I'm much older than I am. 44. Shannon's a lot closer. I'll tell you what. 33. Good. Yeah. There. Nobody's guessed it, but so far one person has got within a year. 2 people have got within a year. Now somebody. Yeah, so Lewis got it. 43. Most of those guesses up in the 50s and shit. Yeah, 43. I just turned 43. But yeah, a lot. I think it's a lot. It's the gray, it's the shave, it's the way I carry myself. It's the fact that I'm usually in command of things. I'm an instant commander. I've that kind of shit. People often think I think a lot of it is when you're in command or you are in charge of things, people naturally assume that you're older. When 2 years, yeah, when really it's the way you present yourself. It's the command presence that you give makes them think of probably of a dad or something, so they automatically assume that you're older. And it's just the way it is. It never bothered me. I always think it's funny when, there's like a 63-year-old fucking union guy and he thinks I'm in my 70s. I'm like, I know it's getting a little wrinkly here, but I mean, come on, guys. And they're like, yeah, now that you're fuck. And then they're all like, it's like, because their perception, of course, is about where I am in life. Thank you. Hi, Jane Wonderland. I'm good. How are you, hon? Because I'm in command of all this stuff. I'm in charge of stuff, right? I'm consulting businesses and I'm running the plant and all this other stuff. So they've got this hierarchy of perception where I'm further in life than they are. Well, I have had a lot of experiences. That's the thing that I tell them is, it's because I had a guy right now that I was just doing employee reviews. And I said, where do you see yourself in 3 years, in 5 years? And, the guy, he's having a kid. Like his wife's going to have a kid this month. So, of course, that's pretty much on his brain. That's it, right? Like, that's it. And he's like, well, I never really thought about it. And, yeah, you get this perception. I'm like, okay, the reason that I'm in this position and other people are not is because I went and did things. Like somebody said, well, you seem like you've had a lot of experiences. I have. I've done a lot of what are 1% things. Like less than 1% of the world has done these things. Like less than 1% of the world has been in the Marines. Then less than 1% of Marines has been a scout sniper. And less than 1 of those has been a combat hunter. And super squad and all those other things. And then I went and went into rescue services where I saved lives, and certainly less than 1% of people have actually saved someone's life. Now that's not because they lack the desire to. I have a very deep belief that people are actually, because I have to train people not to be decent humans. I literally have to train them not to be decent. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. But like most of you probably think, if I saw a burning building and someone was inside it, I think of myself as the person that would run in to get them, right? But when you get to a burning building, most of the time the fire guys are there. They've got their hoses out. They've got their trucks. They're working, and you would just be in the fucking way. So you try not to looky-loo and cause an accident as you drive by. It's just because I put myself in that position. I chased those opportunities because I'm kind of an like I grab onto things and I do things. and I'm a very active kind of person. I read a lot and I study a lot, and then I go do things a lot, and then I come back and I try to put those together. And it leads to this kind of experiential knowledge that a lot of people, I think, could benefit from. It doesn't make me better than anybody else. You guys are just as smart as I am. You're probably smarter, most of you. I believe that all knowledge is learned, and that one man can learn, another man can learn. It's the only difference is just because I wanted to chase those things down. That's it. A lot of people thought about it. I just went and did it. That's all it is. Aladdin, okay, have a good one, man. Okay, so somebody said, do I think that Scandinavian countries are socialist? The answer is no, because the Scandinavian countries themselves come out and said, I'm not socialist. So, no, they're not socialist. I might look 50 to somebody. It depends. Look, how I look depends on somebody else's experience of what age groups look like, their own age. As you are younger, when you're younger, the perception of what an older person looks like, you look at somebody 30 and you think they're ancient when you're 14. But it's kind of this weird cloud where 30 to 80 is just kind of the same age. Then when you become 30 and 50-year-old people are looking at you like you're just a kid, your perception of what old looks like or older looks like changes. So, I don't mind. I don't really care. I just think it's funny that a lot of people think that I'm much older than I am. Talks about how important it is to develop character in general. I believe that. I mean that I do. I strongly believe. I tell people this a lot. People come to me and they say, how do I get your confidence? How do I gain confidence like this? And I'm just, guys, just go out and do shit. Confidence just comes from having done it. There is that line, and it's very trite, and I kind of hate to just use a movie, but everybody's seen it. When you're right. My walker's gonna have like all kinds of gadgets. In Fight Club, right? And he's like, how much can you know yourself if you've never been in a real fight? Right? Yeah, I know. It does, because I've got a round face, I got a loose neck, just because that's how my family comes. So it probably makes me look older. But how much can you know yourself if you've never been in a real fight? And most people, their total experience with fighting was a pushing match in a Burger King parking lot when they were in grade school. And they've never been in a real fight since. And that has a lot of to do with the idea that maturity tends to keep you out of fighting. And that's true. Most situations simply do not call for hands-on. And most people should never they have no real need to go to any kind of a fight. But you also could bring yourself to situations, where you experience something like that. Like you can go boxing and actually get in a ring. And you're most likely not going to die or suffer any real serious injury, get some black eyes, broken nose, whatever. But, when you learn to take a hit, when you learn more that during a fight, things don't really hurt. They hurt afterwards. They make you flinch during. You're scared of pain that's not going to happen. When that real adrenaline hits, it really doesn't hurt. And you can just lean in. You fucking broken nose and fingers and shit. You don't even know it until much afterwards. And it makes you a much more superior fighter when you're like, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. By the way, I'm very slow. I get hit a lot. I'm a brawler. Like I'll try. I have very long arms, and I should stay at a distance and be a defensive fighter. But I get very, very aggressive. Someone hits me, I'm like, stop hitting me! And they just get all fucking monkey mad. But the next day, I get my whole fucking face is pounded. But most people have not put themselves in a position. Monkey fighting. Anyway, better part of you help me develop a realistic. Yeah, a lot of people they talk about wanting confidence, and I don't believe the best defense is to run away, because now you've turned your back on a situation. And they could be a faster runner than you. So I firstly, I'm a Marine, so my best defense is to assault through. I'm going to locate, close with, and destroy. That's my my defense is I'm going to rip the face off the front of your fucking skull and screw your mouth while you're screaming to death. That's yeah, absolutely. Most people are afraid to fail. Most people are afraid to look foolish at the beginning of something, right? They know for a good period of time at the beginning they're not going to know what they're doing. They're going to look foolish. They're going to be uncomfortable, and they don't want to go through that period until they become good at something. Gorilla Supreme. Absolutely. And so most people, they never engage, they never embrace, because they don't want to look and feel stupid. And it's like, dude, nobody cares. When you're bad at guitar and you're strumming along and you're trying to do your chords, everybody just thinks, hey, he's learning guitar. Nobody cares that you don't know how to play. It's not, everybody just thinks, hey, he's learning to play. And, eventually a couple of years later, when you're like, hey, that's really cool. Unrealistic idea of what they can do in an actual fight. I think that's probably true, but I think that most fights devolve into sort of pushing matches, shoving back and forth, and maybe one person throws a punch. And that's most fights. Fighting 100 ways not to make, not to make a label. Failure is part of success. And most people they don't embrace. If you're not failing, then you're not on the edge of your capability, and you're not pushing that capability further, because you have to be at the edge of it in order for it to progress. So failure is part of success. But yeah, I think most people are in a violent situation. They lose the capability to think. Most people are very afraid of hurting someone else, and they should be. It's more like the fear. It's like watching the positive side of two magnets, and then they push each other, right? And if one person went pop, 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 and you just like the other guy, he wouldn't even really be hurt, but he'd be so stunned and so overwhelmed at his perception of the capacity of the other person that he would stay out of reach and just, kind of talk some shit and try to remove himself from the situation. How do you deal with conflict and fights without getting that? It really is just, that really was an older thing. Because when I was, young and dumb as a fucking jarhead, and then I played rugby, and it was all about, I wanted to get into fights. It's empathy. It's recognizing that the other person, that's why I made a couple of videos about developing an emotional skill set. And because I was talking about romantic or sexual relationships with your woman, I saw a lot of very emotional reactions, which I thought was really ironic. But an emotional skill set, or what the term that has been coined, is emotional intelligence. What it really is recognizing that the other person has lit off, right? Has gone limbic, as opposed to cognitive, has gone limbic about the situation, and bringing them back to a point of collaboration, right? So somebody comes up, this motherfucker, whoa, hey, I just got here. Well, this motherfucker was, and you're like, okay. How would you like me to react in this situation? You ever do that? It's a shaping question, and it forces empathy. How do you want me to do it? Pushes the question into them. It's forcing them to come around to you and look at it from your perspective. And they're like, I want you to, and then for a moment, they start to think, because now it forces them forward into the cognitive part to like, well, I want you to, and then they start, because their first split second, they want you to jump in with them and go do a group beatdown. And then as they think about it, like, I don't want to sound like a chicken shit. So now what I want you to do is I want you to come between us so I don't have to fight. And then they want you to hand, whatever. And it starts to de-escalate. And having empathy with someone. And this is going to sound bad. A few months ago, I had a new kid. And he possibly the least technical kid I've ever hired. And as I kept telling, do this. Now tell me why you're doing it. What are you doing and why are you doing it? What are you doing and why are you doing it? What are you doing and why are you doing it? Letting him do it, explain and work his way through it, and then explain why. What is the function of what you're doing in the overall process? But then I changed tone on him. What are you doing? What do you do? Why are you doing that? Exact same question, changed tonality, right? I didn't change the question. I changed the tone. The kid lost his fucking mind. He was gone. I mean, gone. And observing that about him, I learned a lot about him, that he's got this little, nugget of attempting to hold on to his sense of self. And his sense of self was very tied up in being able to portray himself as somebody worthwhile. And he just didn't have a lot to do that with. And so having even that broach just a little bit really broke pieces of him off. And it was like, okay, this kid has such a mess of life that whenever you bring into question his competence, he's putting it as his personal value. He's not just seeing it as, I need to learn a job. His personal value is tied up in being able to do this. It's like, wow, this kid's been through some shit, right? Which is, he's not been through anything like I've been through, but in his world, he's been through some shit and he's a broken person. And I like that I work at a company where I can start putting him back together. And he continues to go through some shit because he makes what I perceive of are not the greatest decisions. But I think he's gradually building himself back up. But that empathy, the ability to put yourself where the other person is, I think is what de-escalates you out of like, motherfucker. Now I can still like be bam, right? I can go fucking Marine Corps in a split second. But that's a skill set. I view that as a skill set, right? If you think in your head, I've got like switches and they can be like, okay, this is normal mode. And if I go, okay, now I'm going to go fucking kill you. But in between there's, okay, I'm going to put myself in his place. Okay, now I'm negotiating. Right now I'm being aggressive, but I'm not being, if you start developing those as discrete skill sets, right? It's like, do you want to switch this to, I will fucking kill you. you feel, you can just, okay, there's the turbine. What do you think of females believe they are princesses and just want Prince Char? Mike, I'm not sure what that sentence was supposed to ask. Can you rewrite that sentence so it's a little more cogent? What do I think of most females believe they are princesses? Are you asking what I do? You're asking, do I think most women have a sense of entitlement? Because you have to establish that first. What's your thoughts on physical fights over women? That is dumb. Because they generally are not impressed. And a woman that you have to fight over, like, is she worth the fight? Or is this more about your ego? How about we both just go dump this chick and go find like 3 or 4 other chicks? I mean, Prince Charming. Good morning from Washington State. Hi, Washington. Problem with fights is gear up forces the other to do the same. In-depth version of Kevin Samuels. I've watched a lot of Kevin Samuels, and I get about 20% of where he's going. It's a little bit too, like, I view what he's doing that we see a lot of as a lot like the initial part of boot camp. People think that boot camp is designed to break you, and it's not. It's designed to see if you will rise to a challenge or if you will quit. It's not designed to break you. If you break, you're no good to anybody, right? They want to push you and see if you quit. But one of the biggest things that they do in boot camp is try to break the habit, the perception of self as the most important thing. When I watch Kevin Samuels, what I see him doing a lot is breaking down that sense of selfishness, the artificial ego, the ego that's not based on anything. So a woman calls in and says, well, I'm a fat bitch with 3 kids and I want a $6 million man. And he says, but you're a fat bitch with 3 kids. You're not bringing anything to the table. You're going to have to earn, you're going to have to present him in a transactional sense with something that he values. And at this time, you're not doing that. And I agree. I agree with Kevin Samuels' assessment of that. But there's another part of it in my mind that goes something like, if they didn't have that ridiculous sense of entitlement, if they didn't think so much of themselves, is there not a human of value under that, right? I understand from a transactional conceptual idea the notion that a woman that's coming to you with another man's kids is bringing along some big, large amount of baggage, right? I get that. But you ever seen Kevin Samuels, what happens if he's dealing with a widow? Like, let's say an attractive woman comes that's got 3 kids and he starts making his little honking, clapping noises at her. Like, well, you gave this man the best thing ever. Why wasn't he good enough? Why are you looking at it? And she says, my husband was killed in a mortar attack on Kabul. And it's taken me 3 or 4 years to get over that. And it broke me and I was crushed. And I knew that I was marrying a military man. I mean, you think you're prepared for that, but we were so in love. And, he was an ECM guy. He worked on computers and we spent 10 years together and we just moved to base in the United States and it was fine. And then he was called to put together a computer system. He deployed to Afghanistan and it was supposed to be a 6-week deployment. And in there was a mortar attack and he was the only one that was killed. And it's been a number of years. So yes, now I'm 43. It's been 5 years and I have his 3 children that I've been trying to raise. And I would like to find a man that was equally that, I've turned away from the military a little bit because I can't go through that again as a person. But many of the men that I see that have many of those same attributes of strength and character are highly successful businessmen. So I thought that would be a good thing for me to. Right, he screams for that. That's the point. He wouldn't talk to her, is my point. So he's targeting a very narrow group of people it's not about them. He's trying to satisfy you. He's trying to feed your energy. He doesn't give a fuck about them. He's just feeding an audience. It's a shtick, right? And I realized myself that in my audience, I might be going down that road because I started getting all kinds of messages from guys like, go fuck this bitch up and go kill this chick and go roast her. And it was some girl, like I remember there was one girl somebody sent me that was a sugar baby. And she's talking about these are sugar baby sites where you go set up a profile because you want to be a sugar baby. And I open up my, my messages with, hi, I want to be a sugar baby. Or when a man messages me, I tell him I'm looking for a sugar daddy. And he's like, go burn her down. And I'm like, but why? She's being completely honest. I mean, I think this will have ramifications for her down, in her life. But she's not putting on the pretense that she's anything. She's completely honest about what she's looking for, who she is. This is capitalism. She's being a hooker, but she acknowledges that she's being a hooker. So what's the problem here? My intent is to address things that I do not believe that are being addressed. Not that women are evil, but that we have socialized several generations of women into self-destructive and therefore relationship destructive and therefore destructive to men habits. But that does not imply that somehow men don't also have, as a group, things we need to work on. When I say women are bad at sex, that's true. It doesn't magically mean that men are all good at sex, right? That's a false dichotomy. It's men need to up their game as well. Men need to be lovers, need to be powerful masculine, need to take the time to explore. Guys, even if it's a one-night stand, if I'm going to fuck this chick in the parking lot, I still am going to spend the time to explore her body within the context of that, but I'm going to spend 10, 15 minutes all over her little places. And I promise you, her mind, she's going to blow her fucking mind that sex in the parking lot bent over the back of my pickup truck was better than 90% of the sex she's had in her life because I took the time. Just spend a few minutes. It's not hard. On the other hand, we should expect that she will equally put effort fucking in the parking lot into exploring the man that she's with. And when I'm talking about sex in the parking lot, what are we all envisioning, including the woman? She's just getting fingered and whatever, and she's kind of nibbling on him, but she's not putting any energy or exploration or deliberate intent to this. She's just getting fucked in a parking lot. And I'm saying, if you want good sex from him, you need to provide good sex by putting equal, deliberate, intellectual effort into that coupling and relationship. And that goes from being fucked in a parking lot all the way to we've been married for 12 years and I think I have all the moves down, but why don't we take a step back and put our egos aside and explore each other as lovers as though we are brand new? Not every time. I mean, if you've been married for 12 years, it's, but on a fairly regular basis, let's slow down and get with each other. That's what I like about the whole BDSM aspect is it brings the intellectual and the deliberate into the game long before you've even had sex. Intellectual efforts doesn't mean physical efforts. I disagree with that. If my intellect drives my physicality, if I am exploring your body, it is a deliberate exploration engaged in the mind to discover the physical, to discover a woman's nipples. Some women almost want them ripped off their body. Other women, they're very, very sensitive. Some women, for them, it's like, okay, you can play with them, but I don't care. And some women are like, oh my God, I literally brought women to orgasm just from here. But each woman is different. And I'm going to put a deliberate intellectual mind-body connection into that. And I find that with women, the other end is almost true. That you need to unhook her intellect. That if she's thinking too much, she's not conceptualized, she's not in her physicality, she's not in touch with her femininity. but both parties should engage the physical and the intellectual simultaneously. And what I find, though, is that one is doing it, and the other is kind of physical, right? So if I am getting her physical, I'm trying to shut her mind down so that she's very limbic, very physical, very sexual, very emotional, and she's almost incapable of really intelligent thought. And then I need to pull her back up so that, I can go and be physical and limbic and emotional and have no real, she needs to blow my fucking mind so I can't even think a thought, right? Back and forth to that. No, I completely disagree. I think they need to be necessarily equal physical effort. I think that's a trap a lot of women fall into, is they don't understand how to put the physical effort in. They don't understand how to use their body to engage the physical. Let's see. We've got a whole bunch of questions here. Somebody asked me about the super straight thing. I think that's a troll move. I think it's ridiculous. And if some 20 fucking year old college student idiot wants to call me transphobic, I don't give a fuck. So I don't feel compelled to create a nonsensical sexuality about that. Do we have a book on this? I don't really. I was thinking I would write one. I have lots of books, not on that sexual stuff in particular. I have a link tree with a lot of books about this stuff. How do you find someone that you can grow with? I very much think it's about a shared value set, but the values that you need to look for are integrity, my belief, and understanding that emotions are created in your brain. I understand that we feel here when we love or we get our heart broken. We feel in our guts when we're nervous. You can feel pricks on the back of your neck when you're scared. You have these physical reactions, but all of that is feedback generated inside your brain. Those emotions, those thoughts, those perceptions are created inside your mind. And as such, by deliberately focusing your perspective, your focus, you can alter how you feel about someone. And to me, to find someone you want to grow with includes talking to them about that, and that they have that solidly as a belief set. At first, that doesn't sound very romantic, right? This idea that you're manufacturing the feeling of infatuation and love. It doesn't sound romantic. It sounds like, oh, well, I'm just choosing this person because I'm looking at them in a positive way. Until you're in a really shitty situation, until one of you has cancer, or you hear that horrible line, I don't love you anymore. Romance is two people that somehow found themselves in a shitty situation. What if they said, I don't love you anymore? And then they said, but I'm going to find my way back to you. I was sharing this because I screwed up somehow, and I want you to know you're my person. I choose you, and I'm coming back. Can you help me? That, to me, that's romance. Two people who will not give up on each other, who will fight their way back to each other, no matter what the circumstances are. That is romance. And if you want to find some person to grow with, find somebody that believes that understands that, and that embraces it. Maybe what excites her needs less of physical effort than what excites. Well, yeah, that's true. Okay, well, yeah, you have to, when I'm saying, oh yeah, hello. Long distance relationships. You have to ask why you're in a long distance relationship to start with. Like, if you've been crazy about each other for 10 years and then one of you had to um, move away for 4 months to get a job and start the home, and the other person's going to follow on in 4 months, that's great. If a long distance relationship is going to work, it needs to have a foundation, a reason why it exists in the first place, a reason why the distance is there, and a definitive end time. If it has those three things, it will work out just fine. You also need to put things that like the effort into maintaining connection and intimacy over a long distance, which can be done. That's actually not very hard. But if one of those three things is missing, then it's doomed from the start. If it doesn't have a definitive end, then it's just out there in the wind. If it doesn't have a reason why it's there in the first place, it's just out in the wind. So those three things need to exist for a long distance relationship. Back to squirrels, right? Well, I think there's a lot to be said for a geographically desirable person if you're going to build a relationship. All right, I'm going to start getting ready for the gym. Whoa. 30 years older than me. Well, 30 years older than you might be okay. Maybe they got 30 years of something to offer. You feel very hurt from going on a date? Back that up. Ninim 31. What does that mean? I went on a date today. It's been a while and I just feel very hurt. How do you feel hurt from going on a date? It was a confusing thing to say. Everybody is now like, what? How do you feel hurt from going on a date? You're going to have to fill us in, babe. After I got home, he stopped responding to my text. Like he hasn't responded at all? Or he didn't, like he's been responding to every text you send and then you went on a date, now he's not responding? Yeah, I don't know that I would put a lot into that yet, Nim. My wife is leaving me after 27 years. Another guy has been texting her, but she doesn't want to repair us. Yeah, that is rough. All right. Let me ask you something, John Pill. Your wife came to you and said, I want to leave or I want a divorce or some such. How long ago was that? Nim, if he's ghosting you because you went on a date and so she told you 3 months ago, what have you been doing since that time? Is she still in the home? And what have your actions been? Or let me back up. John, I'm going to go through something here and you can decide whether or not it applies to you. First, you have to, of course, make a choice whether or not you want her back. But realistically, your path. Now I wonder if he was pretending. He might have been. She's still at home. I've been living out to give her space. No, don't live out. Go back home. First off, don't leave the home. Thank you, Rare. Rare snow turd. It's worse than Snortcoff. Go back to your home. You go back to your home and you say, we're married. I made a vow to you, and that vow means something to me. I recognize that our marriage is not what either of us envisioned. I realize that you are deeply unhappy. And you want to leave. And if you're going to leave, that's your choice. But I'm not leaving. Now, that's my personal integrity. To me, when you get married, you made that choice. You stood in front of God and everybody, and you said, this is my person forever. How you feel about that is up to you. But to me, once you say you're married, that's it. There is nothing else. So I'm going based on that. That's my personal integrity. I'm going to say my personal integrity. If yours is different, that's okay. So you go back and you say, I'm coming back home. I realize that you are deeply unhappy and you want to leave. If you leave, that's your choice. But as of this moment, I'm in exactly the same place as when I stood next to you and I made you my wife. And I'm not leaving. And I'm going to fight for you and I'm going to fight for us. How you react to that is your choice. That's what you say to her. You do not plead with her. You do not beg her. You do not ask her to stay. You do not tell her you need her. Because one of the first things that you need to do is reestablish her attraction to you as a man. And she's not going to be attracted to you as a man if you seem weak and needy and pathetic. So you need to rewind and reestablish that. You need to establish commitment. A date was seemed extremely nice and respectful. Hun, sometime maybe he just didn't feel any physical chemistry with you, and he's such a spineless weevil he couldn't say it. On the other hand, maybe he got home and his favorite aunt died. Give it a couple of days, and breathe. And if he doesn't come back, then he was a spineless bitch that ghosted you, because ghosting is only done by people who are fucking cowards. If he does come back, say, you stopped texting me and I don't know what that was about. Can you explain to me why you sort of disappeared on me? And then listen, really listen. But as of now, he might have ditched you. And in that case, he ghosted you because he's a dickless coward. So fuck him and move on. Anyway, back to John Pill. So you tell her those things. You do not cry and beg and plead. You need to back yourself up to the things that she's been saying to you that you didn't listen to. Like, I don't know, helping around the house or whatever. John, have you done the 5 love languages thing? Knowing myself, I can never love, trust, and respect her the same. Any advice? I don't know what that means. Was there a context to that, dark side? I don't see any previous messages from you. You're going to have to fill in the context with us. I don't know why you can never love, trust, and respect her the same. Who her is. Yeah, if you're dating a girl and you're not into her and she's into you, you need to break it off and just tell her in a kind and loving way, in an empathetic way, and say, I really like you. You're you're an exciting person, but I'm not building the feelings for you that I believe that you would want in a long-term relationship. And so I'm going to end this. And that's not a reflection on you. It's just whatever the chemical feelings were that we should be developing. I'm not. And I don't want to be the guy that just uses you to have someone as a placeholder so that I'm not alone. That will hurt her feelings, but she'll respect you, and that's more important. Never heard of the 5 love languages. Kevin, there's a book in my link tree. Go to my link tree. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages. It's a very, very powerful conceptual idea about how people relate to each other and how they often misfire even with the best of intentions. Thank you very much. Girlfriend of 3 years cheated on me and wants me to forgive her. Okay, there's some context. Okay, so Omega Dark Side. Yeah, Richard, just break up with her in a empathetic and kind way. You're not using her. You're not making a placehold for her. She won't like it, but on the other hand, she won't be a pile of shit. There is an audiobook version of 5 Love Languages. Basically, the idea is that you have a way that you are loved, and so you tend to express yourself in that way. But if you're with somebody that feels loved a different way and expresses themselves a different way, without being aware of that, you guys will misfire. And you'll both be putting effort into making the other person feel loved, but it won't connect. I think we lost John Pill. He was here and now he doesn't seem to be gone. Okay, so your girlfriend of 3 years cheated on you and wants you to forgive her. The question is, do you want to forgive her? If you don't want to forgive her, you just said, I can't love and trust and respect her the same. Okay, then break up with her. Just say, no, I'm not in a place where I can forgive that action. And I'm not interested in being in a relationship with you anymore, and break up with her. I mean, she is a girlfriend. That's not a wife. That's a girlfriend. There we go. John Pill's back. She's changed her physical appearance, acting very odd, and I think this guy is still in the picture. Okay, John, she's having an emotional affair. She may or may not be having a physical affair. We don't know. It is likely she's having a physical affair, but at this point, she's having an emotional affair. She has changed her appearance because he has attracted her as a man. And you, as her husband, have lost her attraction. You've lost her attraction for a variety of reasons. Alexa, dismiss timer. That's my gym timer, guys. So I really got to get going. So you need to move back into the house. You need to tell her the things that I just said. And then you need to get back to attracting her as a man. Now, that basically means, for one thing, start acting like a fucking grown-ass man. Bye, serial killer. Thank you. That means you do your own fucking laundry, you do your own fucking dishes, you cook, you clean, because you're going to have to do those things that's why I said it doesn't really matter if you decide you want to get back with her or not, because your pathways are the same. Either way, you're going to have to start living as a strong and independent man, which means things like you're going to have to keep your house clean, you're going to have to do your fucking laundry, etc. I don't know what your relationship with your wife is like, but it is likely that she has been sending you signals and telling you she's unhappy for years, and you have taken her for granted and blown it off. Just had a girl break plans after planning them for. I told her she had no integrity. Well, I don't know if she has no integrity, but she doesn't have any consistency. When you recreate yourself as an independent man, John Pill, and you start demonstrating some strength of character and change, she will either choose to see it or choose not to see it. One of the things you have to acknowledge, though, if you want your wife back, it doesn't mean that it's entirely your fault. So this is something that people have a hard time with, and I want you to listen to this carefully so that you understand it. John, let me know if you're listening to this carefully so that you understand it, or if I'm just talking to myself here. I think you are, but I'll just say it because it benefits everybody. You have to accept complete and total responsibility for the situation. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to instantly say, but it's her fault, it's her fault, it's her fault. She's the one leaving. And that is true. The reasoning behind accepting complete and total responsibility for a situation is that unless you are responsible for a situation, you have no power over it. When you accept responsibility for a situation, you also gain authority over that situation. Now you have the power to change what's happening. You may or may not change the eventual outcome, but you have gained power. And that's what you want right now is power. It sounds like you're becoming this, like it's not about blaming yourself. There's a difference between accepting responsibility and being blamed for something. Okay? You are not to blame, but you're going to take responsibility because you're going to take authority. Because when you're the one with authority, you're also the leader. And you need to lead your relationship as a man. Right. Personal responsibility stops, it gets you out of the victim mindset. It gives you power. And you need to start leading your relationship as a man. If there's some other dude knocking on her door, what I would say to her is, so I have noticed that you've changed your appearance and you've been engaging in conversations with this other man. I know that right now you're in a mind state that you don't want to repair our marriage, and I understand that. But while you're in this house, while you're still living in our marital home, I'll ask you to respect that. And if it's up to you and you want to, I wouldn't cut her off completely, but what I would start doing is concentrate on building yourself as an individual and letting her see it without like trying to claim credit for it. A lot of guys, they get into the situation where like they did the dishes and now they want somebody to throw a fucking party because they did the dishes. How the fuck are you going to be in your own goddamn house and someone has to tell you to do the fucking dishes? Someone has to tell you to take out the trash. It's your fucking house. Take care of it. Right? So I know it takes self-control, but self-control, self-discipline is a sign of internal power. Internal power is attractive to a woman. And if you need to do this in spurts, then do it in spurts and then recede. But you don't cut her off. In fact, you engage with her, but you engage with her on your terms. You say, I'm making dinner tonight, and I'm going to ask you to join me. Don't make her favorite dinner. Make something you like. Right. You've been the main provider, John, but what does that mean? For example, this. If I move a woman right in right now, I am the main provider. But does that mean that I throw my socks on the ground 4 feet in front of the laundry hamper? And I never do the laundry or I never do what does being the main provider mean? A lot of guys are the main provider. What are your habits and your personal engagement with your wife such that you've lost contact with her? Have you turned yourself into a paycheck and a child to take care of? Because that's what most men do. Most date Chinese at our website. Emotionally, are you providing sexually? Are you exciting emotionally? Yeah, you probably got stuck in a life circle. Most people do. Most people get stuck in. It's almost like you read No More. I haven't read that. I actually haven't. A lot of people keep telling me to, but I mean, it sounds like I've grasped the none of these are new concepts, guys. They're just concepts that men tend to lose track of. That's all. Watching you smoke people with thank you. So John, you right now you're hurting it. So right there, the whole I've been a good provider was lashing out. And it makes sense because you're hurt and you probably have done good by a particular standard. But that standard was not emotionally connected to your wife. That standard was not sexually connected to your wife. That standard was not being your wife's best friend, right? A lot of guys turn themselves into a paycheck and an additional child, right? I know I saw you ask that question, Epis Glass. There's somebody with a more serious issue, but breaking week-long plans is not lying. Maybe she had the intent to join you all week and then something more interesting came along. So she wasn't lying while she was making the plans. It's just that something more interesting came along and she changed her mind. That's not the same as lying. That's inconsistent. That's a lack of consistency. Okay? There's a difference between consistency and integrity. I agree with you is a shitty thing to do, and maybe we're splitting hairs on the definition of a word and it doesn't matter. To me, there's a difference between those two things. That's all. So John, what you need to do, but you're in the beginning stages, and what you need to do is, number one, you need to move back into your house. No, don't tell her that. If she broke plans with you, stop fucking talking to her. Just be like, okay, bye. You shouldn't say anything to her anyway. You're throwing a temper tantrum at her. She probably was just shit testing you. You threw a temper tantrum, and now you've confirmed her opinion of you. You just made yourself look like an immature jackass. When she broke plans with you, you should have said, wow, I was really looking forward to seeing you. But okay, I understand, and I hope you have a good time. And then you should have just left it at that. You threw a fucking temper tantrum and made yourself look like a goddamn teenager. Instead of just saying, I hope you have a good time. And then you should have just left it at that and not said a goddamn thing. She probably would already be talking to you today, trying to make plans with you. But you fucked it up by acting like a damn teenager. So lesson learned, don't act like a teenager. Or maybe she just found something more interesting to do, in which case she'd probably be trying to talk to you this morning. And you'd be like, well, I have some plans myself. Maybe if you want to go out Wednesday, we'll go out to dinner or something. But throwing a temper tantrum made her totally uninterested. Now she doesn't give a fuck what you have to say. After all these years, I don't deserve to be cheated on. It's not about what you deserve, John. I absolutely agree. You don't deserve to be cheated on. And then you need to recognize that. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot that needs to be fixed in this relationship, but the first thing you need to do is put your fucking ego into a little can and then set it down if you want to put your marriage back. You put your ego down and you say, I fucked this up. I'm responsible for the situation. I am the man in this house. That makes me the fucking leader. I am the leader of my relationship, and I have led my relationship to destruction. But now as a leader, I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pull this relationship back. Right? I'm the man. Leadership falls on me. These are my fucking shoulders. I hold it. I'm going to bring my wife back by demonstrating masculine leadership. I turned myself into a big child that brings a paycheck home, and that's all she sees when she looks at me. And now what I need to do is take ownership that I allowed that to happen and create masculine leadership in the home. She can choose to see it or not. I can choose to acknowledge that I fucked up or not. If I acknowledge that I fucked up and I take ownership of this situation and I say, I'm responsible for this, and that gives me power and authority over it, and I'm going to change it so that I can possibly change the outcome, you have a fighting chance. If you just go, I don't fucking deserve this. This isn't right. This is your fault. You're just as much to fucking blame. Fix yourself. You're done. You can't change what someone else is doing. You can only change what you are doing. You can only change your own mindset. I know, I really got to go. So if you want your wife back, if you want to, are you taking donations? No, thank you. People keep sending things across the screen. Guys, if you have any desire to give in some way, then I would ask you to give to those who are in need. There are many, many people in need. Red Cross, Needful Teens, Team Rubicon. These are all organizations that I work with that help people all the time. Please give your money to those who need it. I'm in a beautiful place. Anyway, John, I hope that helped out some. If you would like, I invite you to DM me, and we can talk in a more detailed way. And animal shelters, big one. And let's see if we can get this back. But I'm telling you right now, adjust your mindset. Say, I'm in charge. I'm the man. I'm going to lead this back. Get yourself back into the home and go take it. Locate, close with, and destroy the enemy. Ah! All right. I'm going to go fucking lift. Love you guys. I'm going to be watching Dark City tonight on here and on YouTube, 8:30 Pacific. I hope you will join me, and goodbye.